Hey, Colts Nation, do you want peace of mind while surfing the internet and while also viewing our content safely? Well, now you can, thanks to our sponsor, Aura. It's no doubt, guys, with the internet becoming so massive and new information being put out there every single day, identity theft has become one of the biggest forms of threat in the world. It's important that you guys remain safe out there on the internet while doing all the things that you do. Let Aura be able to help you. Some of you may have things like Aura already, but this allows you to protect everything on all of your devices all in one place rather than having several different apps all at once, making it easier to track everything and helps your wallet. Aura monitors the dark web to protect your personal information. It checks all of your devices for malware, gives you guys one-click VPNs to help you when you're shopping online, and so much more. You can even get credit score checks and alerts for suspicious activities if something's going on with your cards. If you want to stop people from getting access to your personal information online, be sure to go to our sponsor, aura.com/bringthejuice, or scan the QR code and get a 14-day free trial and see for yourself the benefits Aura can provide for you. Allow Aura to protect you so you can get back to surfing the internet safely and enjoy your favorite Colts content creators. What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. If it wasn't apparent at this point in time about what the issue is going on with Jonathan Taylor and the Indianapolis Colts and why he's not practicing right now, well, if you haven't seen what's going on social media over the last few hours, you might want to go and check it out because that is pretty much the big summary of what the problem is. So it's no doubt, guys, that the elephant in the room for Jonathan Taylor was talking about how he wanted a new contract extension and felt like he wasn't going to get paid accurately the way that he felt he was deserved. And so Jim Irsay put out a tweet today that said, NFL running back situation. We have negotiated a CBA that took years of effort and hard work and compromise and good faith by both sides. To say now that a specific player category wants another negotiation after the fact is inappropriate. Some agents are selling bad faith. Now, while Jim Irsay maybe isn't just implying this to Jonathan Taylor, there clearly has been a wide margin of elite NFL running backs that all have been very vocal about how they don't feel appreciated by not getting value the way that they want to. Most recently, Saquon Barkley had that same thing happening with him. But nevertheless, this definitely seemed like, the foot fits the shoe, when it comes to this sort of situation and Jonathan Taylor. So everyone's immediate assumption is Jim Irsay is implying this to Jonathan Taylor as well. And then Jonathan Taylor's agent proceeds to quote tweet. Malachi Kawa comes out and says, bad faith is not paying your top offensive player. So clearly there is some things going on behind closed doors that a lot of people are not realizing. And it actually goes even further beyond that now. There's even been tweets of what Malachi's been liking and retweeting, even tweets suggesting the idea that Jonathan Taylor should request a trade away from Indianapolis to go to another team where he might get paid a little bit more. And Jonathan Taylor has removed all Indy news, photos, and bios from all of his social medias. I mean, Cody, this looks like it's getting to be a really sticky situation. I mean, we felt like just 24 hours ago that, talks were going on with Chris Ballard and Jonathan Taylor, and sure, things weren't done yet, but it certainly seemed like something would get done at another point. Now it's seeming like there's something else going on behind closed doors and that they're not that close, and that, Jonathan Taylor and his representation clearly are not happy with the Indianapolis Colts right now.
Yeah, so just a little bit of clarification. I know that you mentioned, it wasn't directly necessarily, specifically calling Jonathan Taylor out, but this is just something from what Stephen Holder said. He said, I know that people are making a direct link between Jonathan Taylor and Irsay's tweet for good reason, but it's really an obvious reference to what Najee Harris revealed today, that running backs want to amend how the franchise tag applies to them. So basically that means like running backs who are assigned that tag, right, are slotted for a 1-year salary that is less than any other position player, $10.10091 million, right? And only kicker and punters receive less than the franchise tag. And so, for context, quarterbacks, cornerbacks, wide receivers, offensive line, defensive line, and linebackers all receive these numbers in excess of $18 million. So he's wanting the franchise tag to be a little bit more, I think, is kind of what, and Irsay, said, well, we already negotiated this, and stuff. So just to add a little bit of context to that. But in regards to what Irsay said, like, I know some people are pretty up in arms about just the way that he did it. Like, I'm not one to I understand what Irsay is saying. I just don't think social media, I never will think social media is the way to go about it, So for me, it was just like, why bring this to social media? And then it was just this huge drama thing. It's like, why does it feel like there's always drama every single year when it comes around time to Colts camp, man? It just seems like it. It's like every single year there's something. But, it's unfortunate because running backs, at this day and age, man, like, at the end of the day, the game has evolved where running backs aren't as valuable. I mean, let's be completely honest. There's a lot more good running backs in today's NFL than there are good quarterbacks or a lot of other positions, that we would say are more premium positions, right? I mean, that's just kind of how it is, similar to, I know people have made like references to the NBA when it comes to those big men. They're just not as valuable as they once were because of how the game has evolved, and football is the same exact way in that aspect. And so that's just what it is. And like, I understand players want more financial security, running backs do. And I wish that was the case, man. Like, I wish they could, but like, at the end of the day, Derek, we talked about this off air. Like, tell me the last elite running back in the last 5 to 10 years that's led his team to a championship. Like, you would struggle to find one, right? You would struggle to find one. I mean, heck, we even saw Jonathan Taylor in 2021 had an incredible season. Incredible. Colts still missed the playoffs because they did not have adequate quarterback play. And a lot of other adequate things as well that were important, right? And so at the end of the day, running backs, while, yes, we would love Jonathan Taylor on this team with Anthony Richardson. We've talked about it before. At the end of the day, man, like, that's just unfortunately how the NFL game has evolved, right? And it's unfortunate that that's how it's been with running backs. But, like, history's shown you in the last few years, Derek, that you can go and get a running back in the third, fourth, whatever round and not pay him and kind of cycle through running back. But if you have a good quarterback, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And so in today's NFL, if you want to win a championship, let's be honest, Derek, you're probably not paying running backs top money. You're just not. Like, and I wish it wasn't that way, but it is that way. It's a passing league through and through at this point. And so going back to kind of, talking about this whole idea with Jonathan Taylor and stuff, it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds for sure, because Taylor obviously reported to camp. A lot of people speculate he didn't look too happy when he reported to camp, but he did. And then you're wondering, Irsay comes out and says Taylor's fully healthy, and then Taylor's placed on the PUP list. Ballard didn't even say anything about Taylor. Granted, he did add the context of like, we haven't evaluated every player in terms of stuff. You would think Taylor would be one of the first guys you'd evaluate. But at the end of the day, it is going to be definitely a storyline that we're going to be watching because, yeah, it wasn't the prettiest moment on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, tonight. With this whole thing. And so I don't know, man, but it's hard for me to justify like paying a premium player not at a premium position. It's just hard for me to do that because, if you pay Jonathan Taylor, which I would love for them to re-sign him, don't get me wrong, but if you pay him, could you make the argument, like, what if you weren't able to sign a player at a more premium position because you're tied up to a running back? Like, and that's just kind of where I am when it comes to the running back position. So all that to say, I agree and I understand where Irsay's coming from. I just don't like the approach that he took there. Like, I just don't think it was the time or the place to do it, because now what you've done, you potentially ticked off your running back. You certainly ticked off his agent. You probably have ticked off Jonathan Taylor. And it's just some unnecessary drama that you just don't need right now. You just don't need it.
Yeah, it was a situation that Jim Irsay probably could have waited to address this sort of thing, because yes, he wasn't addressing Jonathan Taylor, but the problem is like Najee Harris is a running back in the long line of running backs right now who are all upset at the current movement of the NFL. And listen, like, I'm all for guys going out and trying to get theirs. Like, I'm not mad at any of these guys for wanting to try to get more money. I'm not mad at any of them. Like, go ahead, try and do that, man. But at the end of the day, I'm also still not going to lose sleep over the fact that you're right. There's elite running backs don't win you championships. They just don't. They're not as important in this league as other positions are. It's just how the NFL is now. Sorry to burst any running back's bubble that ever plays the game of football again. But I'm sorry, your position's not as important.
Well, here's another thing, Derek. Here's another thing with JT against the argument of paying him. He's not a third down back. He's not a Kamara. He's not a McCaffrey. He's not doing that stuff out of the backfield. So he's not even offering you like what some of those guys are. Like, I would understand paying, McCaffrey what you're paying him, or Kamara what you're paying him, because he can obviously do what he does on the running in terms of running the football, but also, like, look what he does in the passing game. JT really has never done a whole lot in the passing game, and that's a huge aspect that you're missing if you pay Jonathan Taylor, right? So what does that mean? Like, the Colts were at one point paying a running back, Jonathan Taylor, or they would potentially be paying him, and then if they would have kept Nyheim Hines, they're paying two running backs, a good amount of money, when you could just have one running back who could do a little bit of both. And in that case, I'm more, like, okay, I understand if this guy says, look, I can do a little bit of both. Like, I can help you out in the run and pass game. I would understand. I would be okay paying that guy probably a little bit more than I would a player that's not a third down back like Taylor. And that's something that's just against him. Not that, and also the injury, like, those things just don't bode well for him right now, Like, so I just wanted to add that as well. Like, he's never been a third down back with Indianapolis, which certainly I think goes in the terms of the Colts, like, their argument against paying him, top dollar.
Yeah, I mean, again, at the end of the day, like, this whole thing is just being extremely mishandled by everyone. Irsay, for one, tweeting about that. Second of all, for JT's agent to be acting the way that he is on social media, clearly very upset, but again, also very unprofessional to not only call out the person that will be potentially paying your client, but the second thing is to go also on social media and suggest the idea or agree with the idea that your client should be traded from the team in the same sentence. So, like, you're misrepresenting your client, first of all. So maybe JT might need to, reconsider who's representing him here, because that's kind of, a really bad way of doing business. And then, of course, Jonathan Taylor now is removing all things from his Colts bio and his social media. Is like, I mean, it's just pettiness all around from everyone. Like, I mean, it really is. I mean, and the thing is, people are saying that, like, Jonathan Taylor has leverage here. I'm sorry, but Jonathan Taylor has no leverage. He has no authority over any of this situation. The Indianapolis Colts don't have to re-sign him. Chris Ballard already said that if they can't come to terms on an agreement until midway through the season, he'd be perfectly fine with that. So they're already showing their hand, and they've already said that, like, you don't have to do that. And he doesn't, and they don't have to sign him. They can franchise tag him at the end of the year. They don't have to trade him. They can franchise tag him. And so Jonathan Taylor's stuck one way or another. Like, so, and I don't know what numbers they're giving him, Cody. I could imagine it's probably close to what Saquon Barkley was getting, maybe a little bit more potentially. All I'm saying is, dude, like, just look at any of the top running backs last year, or over the last several years that went and got their money midway through their contracts. Tell me what happened to them. One, they either lost money because they could have went and got a better contract from another team, or they get cut because they're either injured all the time or they're not performing, and then they just and you're wasting money as a team to do that. So, like, listen, I'm like Cody. I want JT to get re-signed here. The last thing I want is for Jonathan Taylor to have to go to another team. But at the same time, this whole thing is just becoming ridiculous. Like, I mean, it's becoming the only thing that people want to talk about right now, versus just trying to make sure that this team is in a good position to succeed. And right now, the only thing that matters is Jonathan Taylor's contract. That's becoming the only thing that anyone is talking about with Indianapolis. So I don't know what needs to be done. I don't know whether Chris Ballard needs to do something better, or Irsay needs to do better, or Jonathan Taylor needs to, wise up and start, do and take whatever money that the Colts are giving him. I'm not 100% sure what needs to be done, but something needs to be.
Yep, exactly. So it's just a lot of unnecessary drama right now. It's just stuff you just don't need right now when it comes to this. And so I don't know what's going to happen, man, but this may sound, I might get backlash for this, but whatever, man. I've been called worse, I'm sure. But if it was any other player, really, I mean,
And I'll say this before we end this. I will say, apparently the whole profile pic header bio thing from JT's Twitter and Instagram, apparently it was changed a few days ago and not this evening. So again, still the likelihood, that it's because of the contract situation, absolutely could still be it, but that's still one of those things where
to me it just kind of says like, oh, we're going to try to get them nervous. Like, it seems like a very much like a PR move, like, I'm going to remove all this stuff and get the Colts nervous, and then maybe they'll pay me. But Ballard's not going to budge. Like, he's not going to budge on this, so it's really kind of silly, all things considered, unless he's super serious, which all indications before this have said, have been that Taylor loves Indy. He wants to be here for a long time. So if that's really true, then cut the crap out, JT, and let's get moving. At this point, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, either accept it or we'll move on. Like, and that might sound harsh to some people because I know JT is very beloved in Indianapolis, but you just don't need this drama. You just don't. You don't need this drama. Ultimately, it's not about, at this point, your star running back. It's about developing your quarterback into a star. And that's what's going to propel your franchise forward, not, trying to figure out this thing, and paying your star running back all this kind of money. Like, I get it. You have some cap space, but at the end of the day, this is just so unnecessary. So I'm ready to move on. I'm sure we all are. It's just kind of ridiculous that this had to happen tonight, and this whole petty thing on both sides. I think Irsay definitely needs to be better about that and manage what he says on Twitter, because he had to know, man, that's going to cause ripples. Like, you can't not know that. And so he's got to be better. He's got to be more mindful of what he posts on social media, because it's just not worth it being that distraction, Jim. Just don't do that. Just be better when it comes to managing your social media and not putting that stuff that is going to cause controversy out there. Like, I may agree with what you're saying, but just don't do that knowing it's going to rile up people. Like, it's just not worth it, in my opinion. So that's what I have to say about the whole situation. It's just drama is just stupid a lot of the time. And this is just one of those things where it's like so stupid. So all that to say, let's move on. Let's keep talking about training camp. It's an exciting time of the season. So really looking forward to, the situation. Hopefully they can get something figured out and we can get moving forward. So that'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let us know your thoughts on this whole JT situation and this whole thing with Irsay. And, let us know your thoughts on the whole running back market, this whole situation that's been going on the last couple weeks. Thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate all the support. And as always, guys, go Colts.